The alarm bells rang through Nexus Prime Station for the third time that week. Ambassador Zethkar pressed his 6 fingers against his temple and tried to calm his nerves. The reports from the outer rim kept getting worse. A new species had appeared from somewhere beyond the known galaxy, and they were spreading fast. "Tell me again about these humans," Zethkar said to his aide, a nervous Phylaxian named Quintha. Quintha checked her datapad with shaking hands. "They come from a planet they call Earth. Our scouts say it's a Class 12 death world. The radiation levels alone should kill most life forms, but somehow they evolved there." Zethkar felt his stomach turn. Class 12. Death worlds were the stuff of nightmares. Planets where the weather could kill you in minutes, where the very air was poison, where creatures fought each other just to survive another day. Nothing good ever came from such places. "And they're coming here?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Their ship will dock in 2 hours. They say they want to talk about trade and friendship." The word friendship from creatures that lived on a death world made Zethkar's skin crawl. He had seen what death world predators did to their prey. The thought of trying to negotiate with such beings filled him with dread. Meanwhile, aboard the Biao, human ship Liberty, Commander Jake Morrison was checking his uniform one last time. This was humanity's first real contact with alien civilization, and he wanted to make a good impression. The crew had been traveling for 6 months to reach this meeting point, and everyone was excited. "How do I look, Doc?" Jake asked Dr. Lisa Chen, who was busy studying her notes about alien biology. "You look fine, Jake. Just remember what we talked about. These aliens might be different from us, but they're probably just as nervous as we are." Lieutenant Ryan Cooper walked up to them, carrying his sidearm in its holster. "Should I leave the weapon on the ship? I don't want to seem threatening." Jake thought about it. "Keep it with you, but make sure it's clearly secured. We're representing all of humanity here. We need to be ready for anything, but we also need to show we come in peace." The Liberty docked with Nexus Prime with a gentle bump. Jake could feel his heart beating faster as the airlock opened. This was it. Humanity was about to meet the galaxy. The first thing Jake noticed was how quiet everything became when they stepped onto the station. Dozens of different alien species had been walking around, talking, and conducting business. But when the humans appeared, all conversation stopped. Every eye, antenna, and sensory organ turned toward them. "Is it just me, or does everyone look scared?" Ryan whispered. Dr. Chen was already taking notes. "Look at their body language. They're all backing away from us. Some of them are actually hiding behind things." A tall, blue-skinned alien approached them slowly. Jake recognized him from the pictures they had been sent. This was Ambassador Zethkar, their contact on the station. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," Zethkar said, but his voice was shaking. "I am Ambassador Zethkar. You must be the human delegation." "That's right," Jake said with a smile, extending his hand. "I'm Commander Jake Morrison. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Zethkar looked at Jake's outstretched hand like it might explode. After a long moment, he carefully reached out and touched Jake's fingers with his own. The alien's hand was cold and seemed to tremble. "Are you feeling all right?" Dr. Chen asked with concern. "You seem nervous." "Nervous?" Zethkar's voice went up an octave. "You are from a Class 12 death world. Your planet has weather that changes from freezing to burning in a single rotation. Your oceans are filled with salt that would kill most species. Your air contains gases that are toxic to 70% of known life forms. And you ask if I am nervous?" The humans looked at each other in confusion. Dr. Chen spoke up first. "I think there might be some misunderstanding. Earth is actually quite pleasant. Yes, we have some weather changes, but nothing extreme. Most of our planet is perfectly safe." "Safe?" Zethkar could barely speak. "Your own reports mention creatures, called hurricanes, that destroy entire cities. You describe earthquakes that can split the ground open. You talk about something called winter, where the temperature drops so low that water turns solid." Jake tried to keep his voice calm and friendly. "Well, yes, we do have weather, but it's not that bad. Humans have learned to deal with all of those things. We build strong houses for storms and we wear warm clothes in winter. It's really not a big deal." The crowd of aliens that had gathered to watch this meeting began to murmur among themselves. Jake could hear words like impossible and terrifying being whispered in various alien languages. Ryan decided to try helping. Look, I know our planet might seem dangerous to you, but humans are pretty tough. We adapt to things, that's just how we survive. This made things worse. Zethkar's eyes went wide. You survive by adapting to deadly conditions? What kind of evolutionary pressure creates such abilities? Dr. Chen, still trying to be helpful, pulled out her tablet. Would you like to see some pictures of Earth? Maybe that would help you understand that it's not as scary as you think. She showed them images of a beautiful sunset over the ocean, a peaceful forest, and a city full of happy people. But then she flipped to a picture of Niagara Falls. This is one of our waterfalls, she said proudly. Isn't it beautiful? The aliens in the crowd gasped. To them it looked like a massive wall of deadly liquid crashing down with enough force to crush buildings. That's just water falling down, Jake explained. People visit it for fun. It's considered very relaxing. Zethkar's knees nearly gave out. These creatures found relaxation in watching massive amounts of liquid crash down with devastating force. What kind of beings were they dealing with? Lieutenant Cooper noticed that some of the aliens were starting to back away even further. Hey, we're not here to hurt anyone. We just want to be friends and maybe do some trading. Trading? Zethkar managed to ask. What do your people trade in? Dr. Chen brightened up. Oh, all sorts of things. We have music, art, food, technology. We grow lots of different crops on Earth. Some of them can even grow in really harsh conditions. The mention of crops that could grow in harsh conditions sent another wave of fear through the crowd. If humans could make food grow on a death world, what else were they capable of? Jake was starting to realize that this meeting was not going as planned. Is there somewhere we could sit down and talk? Maybe we could clear up some of these misunderstandings. Zethkar nodded quickly, eager to get these terrifying beings away from the public areas. Yes, yes. Please follow me to the diplomatic quarters. And please, try not to touch anything. Some of our equipment is very delicate. As they walked through the station, Jake noticed that every alien they passed immediately moved to the other side of the corridor. Some of them actually pressed themselves against the walls as if the humans might attack at any moment. This is going to be harder than we thought, Ryan whispered to Jake. Tell me about it, Jake replied. I think they're more afraid of us than we are of them. Dr. Chen was still taking notes, fascinated by the reactions they were seeing. This is incredible. I've never seen such a strong fear response from so many different species at once. As they entered the diplomatic quarters, Zethkar sealed the door behind them and activated what looked like a communication device. Yes, this is Zethkar, he said into the device. The humans have arrived. Yes, they're real. No, they haven't killed anyone yet, but we need to be very careful. Alert the council. We may have a serious situation on our hands. Jake, Lisa, and Ryan sat down at the conference table, completely unaware that their very presence had just triggered the biggest diplomatic crisis in galactic history. 3 months had passed since the first meeting at Nexus Prime. The news about humans had spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Every species was talking about the creatures from the Death World, and most of what they said was not good. Captain Alex Turner stood on the bridge of his ship, the Frontier, watching the stars through the main screen. His crew was conducting routine surveys in the Kepler sector, mapping new worlds that might be good for human colonies. Alex had no idea that half the galaxy was currently terrified of him and his people. Captain, we're picking up ships on the scanner, said Navigator Beth Williams from her station. Looks like 3 vessels heading right for us. Alex walked over to look at the display. The ships were big, much bigger than the Frontier. Their design was strange, with lots of curved metal and bright lights. Any idea who they are, Beth? The computer says they're Zephyrian ships. According to our files, the Zephyrians are supposed to be a warrior race. They like to fight. Engineer Sam Rodriguez looked up from his console. Their weapons are powered up, Captain. I think they want to fight us. Alex felt his stomach tighten. This was not what he had signed up for when he joined the exploration service. Try to contact them, Beth. Maybe we can talk this out. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a Zephyrian captain. The alien looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird with sharp teeth and bright yellow eyes. When he spoke, his voice sounded angry. "Human vessel, I am Captain Raxthul of the Zephyrian Defense Fleet. We challenge you to combat. Your kind has threatened the peace of the galaxy for too long." Alex blinked in surprise. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been a mistake. We haven't threatened anyone. We're just exploring and mapping new worlds." The Zephyrian captain laughed, but it was not a friendly sound. "Exploring? You mean looking for new worlds to conquer with your Deathworld tactics? We know what your species is capable of. The whole galaxy knows." "I really don't understand what you're talking about." "Alex," said, trying to stay calm, "we're peaceful explorers. We don't want to fight anyone." "Lies," Raxthul shouted. "Your people live on a world where the very air is poison. You survive conditions that would kill our strongest warriors. You are the most dangerous predators the galaxy has ever seen." Sam looked confused. "Captain, are they talking about Earth? Because Earth isn't really that dangerous." The Zephyrian captain heard this and his eyes went wide. "Not dangerous? Your world has storms that can destroy entire cities. Your ground shakes and splits open without warning. Your star sends out radiation that kills most life forms." Beth tried to help. "Well, yes, we do have some weather, but humans have been dealing with that stuff for thousands of years. It's not really a big deal." This made the Zephyrian captain even more angry. "Not a big deal? You speak of planetary destruction as if it were nothing. This proves how dangerous you are." Alex was getting frustrated. "Look, we don't want to fight you. Can't we just talk about this?" "The time for talk is over," Raxthul declared. "We will test your abilities in combat. If you are as dangerous as the reports say, then the galaxy will know. If you are weak, then we will destroy you here and now." The screen went black and immediately alarms started ringing all over the frontier. "They're firing," Sam shouted from his station. "Energy weapons, incoming." The ship shook as the first blast hit their shields. Alex grabbed the nearest rail to steady himself. "Beth, get us out of here. Plot a course away from those ships." "I'm trying, Captain, but they're faster than us. They're going to catch up." Another blast hit the ship, this one harder than the first. The lights flickered, and Alex could hear systems starting to fail. "Sam, how are our weapons?" Alex asked. "We've got 2 plasma cannons and some missile launchers. Nothing fancy, but they should work." Alex hated the idea of fighting, but it looked like they didn't have a choice. "Return fire. Try to disable their engines, not destroy them." The Frontier's weapons fired back at the Zephyrian ships. The humans were not trained for space combat, but they were fast learners. Sam managed to hit one of the enemy ships, causing it to slow down. "Good shot, Sam," Beth called out. "That bought us some time." But the other 2 Zephyrian ships were still coming. They fired again, and this time the blast went right through the Frontier's shields. The ship shook so hard that Alex was thrown to the floor. "Shields are down," Sam reported. "Hull damage on decks 3 and 4. Alex got back to his feet. "How bad is it?" "Bad, but not fatal. I can keep us running, but we can't take many more hits like that." Beth was working frantically at her station. "Captain, there's an asteroid field ahead. If we can get into it, maybe we can lose them." Alex looked at the display. The asteroid field was thick with rocks, some as big as buildings. Flying through it would be dangerous even for an experienced pilot. "Can you do it, Beth?" "I can try. But if we hit one of those rocks, better than getting blown up by the Zephyrians," Alex said. "Do it." The Frontier dove into the asteroid field at full speed. Rocks flew past the ship so close that Alex could see the details on their surface. Beth's hands moved over her controls like she was playing a musical instrument, guiding the ship between the floating mountains of stone. Behind them, the Zephyrian ships followed. But they were not as skilled at flying through dangerous areas. The first ship tried to follow the Frontier's path but moved too slowly. A large asteroid clipped its wing, sending it spinning away from the fight. "One down," Sam said with satisfaction. "The Second Zephyrian ship was more careful, but that meant it was also slower. The Frontier was pulling ahead, moving deeper into the asteroid field where the rocks were even thicker. They're still following us, Beth reported, but they're having trouble keeping up. Alex had an idea. Sam, can you target that big asteroid ahead of us? The one that looks like it's barely holding together. Sam looked at his weapons display. Yeah, I can hit it, but why? Trust me, wait until we're past it, then blow it up. The Frontier flew past the large cracked asteroid. As soon as they were clear, Sam fired both plasma cannons at it. The rock exploded into thousands of smaller pieces, creating a cloud of debris right in the path of the pursuing Zephyrian ship. The enemy vessel tried to stop, but it was too late. It flew right into the debris cloud, and its hull was torn apart by the flying rocks. The ship spun out of control and crashed into a larger asteroid. That's 2 down, Sam said. 1 more to go. But the third Zephyrian ship had learned from watching the others. Instead of following the Frontier into the thickest part of the asteroid field, it stayed at the edge and waited. He's smart, Beth observed. He knows we have to come out eventually. Alex thought about their situation. They were trapped in the asteroid field with limited fuel and a damaged ship. The Zephyrian captain was right to wait. Eventually, they would have to leave the safety of the rocks. Sam, how are our long-range communications? Alex asked. Still, working, Captain. Did you want to call for help? No. I want to broadcast what just happened here. I want the whole galaxy to know that we didn't start this fight. Sam set up the communication system to broadcast on all frequencies. Alex sat down in the captain's chair and began to speak. This is Captain Alex Turner of the Earthship Frontier. We came to this sector on a peaceful exploration mission. We were attacked without warning by Zephyrian ships. We defended ourselves only because we had no choice. The human race does not seek war with anyone. We want only to explore the galaxy and make friends with other species. The message was picked up by communication stations across the sector. Within hours, it was being broadcast on news networks throughout the galaxy. The footage of a single human ship defeating 3 Zephyrian vessels in an asteroid field became the most watched video in galactic history. On Earth, President Karen Davis was in an emergency meeting with her advisors. Dr. Marcus Webb, head of the Xenological Institute, was explaining what the fight meant for human relations with the rest of the galaxy. The problem is that they see us as unstoppable warriors, Dr. Webb said. A single human ship just defeated 3 alien warships. To them, that proves we're as dangerous as they feared. But it was self-defense, President Davis protested. They attacked first. That doesn't matter to them. What matters is that we won. And we won by doing things they consider impossible, like flying through an asteroid field. Meanwhile, on the frontier world of New Dakota, human colonists were facing their own problems. A pack of native predators had been attacking the settlement, trying to drive the humans away. These creatures were the size of small trucks, with teeth like swords and skin like armor. Joe Henderson, one of the farmers, grabbed his rifle and walked outside to check on his livestock. He found 3 of the predators circling his barn, looking for a way inside. Not today, Joe muttered, raising his weapon. The predators heard him and turned around. They were used to scaring away the weak aliens who had tried to settle this world before. But Joe didn't run. He didn't even look scared. Joe fired his rifle, hitting the first predator in the shoulder. The creature roared in pain and anger, but Joe was already taking aim at the second one. His neighbor, Mary Sullivan, came, running with her own weapon. Need some help, Joe? She asked, as if fighting giant predators was just another day on the farm. Admiral Patricia Stone looked out the window of her flagship, the Constitution, and counted the enemy ships gathering at the edge of human space. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Ships from 12 different alien species, all working together for the first time in galactic history. And they were all here because they were afraid of humanity. Admiral, we're receiving another diplomatic message, said her communications officer, Lieutenant Danny Walsh. It's from the Coalition. Leadership, Patricia nodded. To put it through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a room full of alien diplomats. She recognized some of them from the intelligence briefings. There was Zethkar, the Valerian ambassador who had first met the humans. Next to him sat a massive creature that looked like a walking tree, and beside that was something that looked like a giant insect. The insect-like alien spoke first. "I am High Council Krintak of the Galactic Defense Coalition. Human Admiral Stone, your species has been declared a threat to galactic peace. You have 48 hours to withdraw all human ships and colonies to your home system. After that, we will be forced to take action." Patricia kept her voice calm and professional. "High Council Krintak, with respect, we have done nothing to threaten anyone. Our ships are on peaceful missions. Our colonies are simply people trying to build new homes." The tree-like alien made a sound like wind through leaves. "Peaceful? Your colonists defeated the Razorclaw Pack on New Dakota. Those creatures had driven away 3 previous colonization attempts by other species." "They were defending themselves," Patricia replied. "The creatures attacked them first." Zethkar leaned forward. "That is exactly the problem, Admiral. Your people defended themselves against impossible odds and won. This proves how dangerous you are." Patricia felt a headache coming on. How could she explain to these aliens that fighting for survival was just normal for humans? "We're not dangerous. We're just good at adapting to difficult situations." The insect alien's antennae twitched. "Your ship, the one called Frontier, destroyed 3 Zephyrian warships in an asteroid field. The Zephyrians are considered among the finest warriors in the galaxy." "Captain Turner was defending his ship," Patricia said. "He didn't want to fight. He tried to talk to them first." "He flew through an asteroid field at full speed," the tree alien said, its voice full of disbelief. "No species in the galaxy can do such things. It is impossible." Patricia was starting to understand the problem. These aliens had never faced the kind of dangers that humans dealt with every day on Earth. To them, flying through an asteroid field was like walking through a minefield. They couldn't understand that humans had been dealing with dangerous situations for thousands of years. Meanwhile, on the planet Alteria Prime, Dr. Amanda Foster was working with her research team to understand why the aliens were so afraid of humans. She had been studying alien psychology for years, but this situation was unlike anything she had ever seen. Dr. Foster called her assistant, Kevin Torres. "I think I found something important." Amanda walked over to Kevin's desk, where he had spread out dozens of alien psychological profiles. "What did you find?" "Look at this," Kevin said, pointing to a chart. "Most alien species evolved on planets with very stable climates. No extreme weather, no dangerous predators, no natural disasters. Their biggest challenge was finding enough food." Amanda studied the chart. "So they never had to develop survival instincts like humans did." "Exactly. And look at this." Kevin pulled up another file. "The average alien species has been at peace for over 1,000 years. They don't even understand what war is anymore." Dr. Amanda Foster suddenly understood. "They're not afraid of us because we're evil. They're afraid because we're different. We come from a world that taught us to fight and survive, and they come from worlds where those skills were never needed." Across the galaxy, Ambassador Tony Martinez was trying one last time to arrange peace talks. He had requested a meeting with the coalition leadership, hoping that face-to-face conversation might solve the problem. He sat in a diplomatic conference room on Nexus Prime Station, waiting for the alien representatives to arrive. His security chief, Colonel Rachel Moore, stood nearby watching the door. "Do you think this will work?" Rachel asked quietly. Tony shrugged. "It has to work. If we can't talk our way out of this, there's going to be a war that nobody wants." The door opened, and several alien diplomats entered the room. They moved slowly and carefully, as if they expected Tony and Rachel to attack them at any moment. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me," Tony said, standing up and offering his hand. The aliens looked at his outstretched hand like it was a weapon. Finally, one of them, a blue-skinned Valerian, carefully touched Tony's fingers. "Ambassador Martinez," the Valerian said, "I am Deputy Counsel Vexelar. We have come to give you one final warning." "I appreciate that," Tony said. "But I was hoping we could discuss why you think humans are a threat. Maybe we can clear up some misunderstandings." Vexillar's eyes narrowed. There are no misunderstandings. We have seen the reports. Your people live on a world where the temperature can change by 50 degrees in a single day. Your oceans contain enough salt to poison most life forms. Your air pressure is so high that it would crush the lungs of most species. Rachel looked confused. But that's just normal weather on Earth. It's not that extreme. The aliens in the room all stepped back when Rachel spoke. To them, anyone who considered such conditions normal was clearly a dangerous predator. Furthermore, Vexillar continued, your medical teams recently provided aid during the earthquake on Alteria Prime. They worked in conditions that should have killed them within minutes. Tony remembered that mission. Dr. Greg Phillips and his team had volunteered to help rescue survivors from a natural disaster. They had done good work, saving dozens of alien lives. Dr. Phillips and his team were just helping people, Tony explained. They wore protective suits and followed safety protocols. Protective suits? Vexillar's voice rose in pitch. Your protective suits failed within the first hour. The radiation levels would have killed any of our people instantly. Yet your team continued working for 12 hours. Rachel and Tony looked at each other. They remembered reading Dr. Phillips's report. He had mentioned that the equipment wasn't working perfectly, but the team had decided to continue the rescue mission anyway. The radiation levels weren't that high, Rachel said. Dr. Phillips said they were within acceptable limits for short-term exposure. The aliens in the room made sounds of terror. What humans considered acceptable radiation levels were enough to kill most galactic species in minutes. This is exactly what we feared, Vexillar said. You speak of deadly radiation as if it were nothing. You survive conditions that would destroy our strongest warriors. How can the galaxy be safe with such creatures in it? Tony tried desperately to explain. We're not trying to hurt anyone. We just want to explore the galaxy and make friends. Yes, humans are tough, but that doesn't make us evil. Your toughness is not the problem, Vexillar replied. The problem is that you don't understand how dangerous you are. A species that considers Class 12 Deathworld conditions to be normal cannot be trusted to know when they are being threatening. Meanwhile, Captain Rick Collins was conducting a secret reconnaissance mission in Coalition space. His stealth ship, the Shadow, was invisible to most alien sensors, allowing him to gather intelligence on enemy fleet movements. His pilot, Lieutenant Carla Banks, was carefully maneuvering the ship through a Coalition supply convoy. Captain, you need to see this, she said quietly. Rick looked at her display. The alien ships were covered with strange equipment that he didn't recognize. What is all that stuff? According to our scanners, it's environmental protection gear, air filters, radiation shields, temperature control systems. They're preparing for what they think will be environmental warfare. Rick shook his head in amazement. They think we're going to attack them with weather? Looks like it. They're treating normal Earth conditions like biological weapons. The reconnaissance mission revealed that the Coalition was preparing for a type of warfare that didn't exist. They had equipped their ships to survive in what they considered hostile environmental conditions, not realizing that humans would never use their planet's environment as a weapon. Back on Earth, the government was beginning to understand the true scope of the problem. President Karen Davis was in an emergency meeting with military and scientific advisors. How did it get this bad? She asked Dr. Marcus Webb. It's a classic case of cultural misunderstanding, Dr. Webb explained. We see ourselves as hardy survivors. They see us as unstoppable predators. Every time we try to prove we're peaceful, we accidentally prove how dangerous we are. General Charles Baker, the head of Earth's military, looked at the tactical reports. Admiral Stone says the Coalition fleet has us outnumbered 50-1. If they attack, we won't be able to defend all of our colonies. President Davis felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Humanity had reached for the stars hoping to find friends and new worlds to explore. Instead, they had accidentally convinced the galaxy that they were monsters. Is there any way to avoid this war? She asked. Dr. Webb looked at his reports and shook his head sadly. I don't think so, Madam President. They're too afraid of us to listen to reason. The war began at exactly 1200 hours, Galactic Standard Time. Admiral Patricia Stone watched from the bridge of the Constitution as thousands of coalition ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. She had never seen so many ships in one place. "All stations report ready, Admiral," said Captain Frank Miller over the communication system. His ship, the Independence, was positioned on the left flank of the human defensive line. "Admiral, incoming message from the Coalition fleet," reported Lieutenant Danny Walsh. Patricia nodded. "Put it through." The screen showed High Council Krintak, the insect-like alien who had delivered the ultimatum. "Human Admiral Stone, this is your final chance. Surrender now and your people will be relocated to a safe area where they cannot threaten the galaxy." "I cannot do that," Patricia replied calmly. "Human colonies have a right to exist. We have done nothing wrong." The alien's antennae twitched with what might have been anger or fear. "Then you have chosen destruction. Operation Cleansing Dawn will now begin." The screen went dark and immediately the Coalition fleet began to move forward. Patricia had 47 human ships under her command, facing nearly 3,000 alien vessels. The odds were not good, but she had learned something important about humans during her years in the military. They fought harder when things looked impossible. "All ships, this is Admiral Stone," she broadcast to her fleet. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human colony, every family that just wants to live in peace. Make them count." The first wave of Coalition ships opened fire. Energy beams and missile trails filled the space between the two fleets like deadly fireworks. The human ships scattered, using their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid the worst of the attack. Captain Diana Ross, commanding the destroyer Vigilant, dove her ship under a formation of massive Coalition battleships. "Weapons target, their engine sections. Let's see if we can slow them down." Her weapons officer fired a spread of plasma torpedoes that struck 3 enemy ships. The aliens had built their vessels to be heavily armored and well shielded, but they had not expected the humans to target specific weak points. "Direct hits, Captain," the weapons officer reported. 2 ships are losing power, and the third is falling behind the formation. Meanwhile, Captain Frank Miller was facing his own problems. A squadron of fast Coalition fighters had surrounded the Independence, firing from all directions. His ship was taking damage faster than his engineer could repair it. "Captain, we've lost main power to the port weapons array," Engineer Bob Thompson reported from the engine room. Frank gritted his teeth. "Can you get it back online?" "Give me 5 minutes and I'll have something for you." Frank didn't think they had 5 minutes, but Bob Thompson was the best engineer in the fleet. If anyone could work miracles, it was him. The Coalition fighters pressed their attack thinking the human ship was helpless. But Frank had been in the military for 15 years and he had learned a few tricks during that time. "Helm, bring us about. Full speed toward that big ship over there." "Sir, that's a Coalition battleship. It outguns us 10 to 1. "I know. That's why they won't expect us to attack it." The Independence charged straight at the enemy battleship, with the Coalition fighters following behind. At the last moment, Frank ordered his pilot to dive under the large ship's hull. The fighters, moving too fast to stop, crashed into the battleship's shields and were destroyed. "Engineering to bridge," Bob's voice came over the intercom. "Port weapons are back online, Captain." "Good work, Bob. Now let's show these aliens what the Independence can do." But the hardest fighting was happening around Earth itself. The Coalition had sent their strongest ships to attack humanity's homeworld, believing that destroying Earth would end the human threat forever. Defense Coordinator Linda Hayes watched from Earth's orbital defense station as enemy ships approached the planet. She had 12 orbital weapon platforms under her command, along with a small fleet of defensive ships. "All platforms, this is Control," she broadcast. "Wait for them to get closer. We only get one good shot at this." The Coalition ships moved into Earth's atmosphere, expecting to find a planet full of helpless civilians. Instead, they found a world that had been preparing for this moment since first contact went wrong. Station Chief Paul Adams commanded the largest orbital platform. His weapons were powered by the same fusion reactors that provided energy for entire cities. When he fired, the beam of energy was bright enough to be seen from the planet's surface. Direct hit on the lead ship, Adams reported. It's breaking apart. But there were too many enemy ships. For every one that Linda's platforms destroyed, 2 more took its place. Soon, Coalition landing craft were breaking through the defense line and heading for the planet's surface. On the surface of Earth, people who had never expected to fight aliens were preparing to defend their homes. In the city of New Portland, Sheriff Bill Jackson was organizing civilian volunteers to help evacuate people from the landing zones. "Listen up," Bill told the crowd of volunteers. "These aliens think we're monsters. I don't know why, but that's what they believe. Our job is to get everyone to safety and let the military handle the fighting." But the military was stretched thin when alien soldiers began landing in the suburbs of New Portland. Bill and his volunteers found themselves on the front lines of an interplanetary war. The Katorian ground troops were impressive. They wore powered armor that made them look like walking tanks, and they carried weapons that could melt steel. They expected the human civilians to run in terror. Instead, Bill Jackson stepped out of a building with a hunting rifle in his hands. "You're not welcome here," he said calmly, as if he was talking to someone who had parked in the wrong place. The Katorian squad leader was confused. According to their intelligence, humans were supposed to be terrifying warriors. This one looked like an ordinary person, but he wasn't running away. "Human, surrender now and you will not be harmed," the alien said through a translation device. "Can't do that," Bill replied. "This is my town, and I don't like people who show up uninvited." The squad leader raised his weapon, expecting the human to finally show fear. Instead, Bill raised his rifle and fired. The bullet struck the alien's armor and bounced off harmlessly. But the squad leader was shocked that the human had actually attacked him. "Impossible," the alien muttered. "He should be terrified." Bill worked the bolt on his rifle and fired again. This time, he aimed for a joint in the armor where the protection was thinner. The bullet found its mark, and the squad leader stumbled. "Spread out," Bill shouted to his volunteers. "Don't let them group up." What followed was the strangest battle in galactic history. Human civilians with ordinary weapons faced off against alien soldiers with advanced technology. The aliens had every advantage except one. They didn't understand what they were fighting. The Katorians had expected to face either cowering civilians or elite military units. They hadn't prepared to fight ordinary people who simply refused to give up. Sheriff Bill Jackson and his volunteers fought like they were defending their homes because that's exactly what they were doing. In space, the battle around Earth was reaching a critical point. Admiral Stone's fleet had been scattered and damaged, but they were still fighting. The Constitution had taken heavy damage, but Patricia refused to retreat. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the planet," Lieutenant Walsh reported. "It's from Defense Coordinator Hayes." "Put her through." Linda Hayes appeared on the screen, and Patricia could see smoke and sparks in the background. "Admiral, we can't hold them much longer. They've broken through the orbital defenses." "Understood. We're going to try something desperate." Patricia turned to her tactical officer. "What's the status of our remaining ships?" "We have 14 ships still operational, Admiral. Most are damaged, but they can still fight." Patricia made a decision that would be remembered for centuries. "All ships, this is Admiral Stone. Form up on the Constitution. We're going to punch through their line and hit their command ship." "Admiral, that's suicide," Captain Miller protested over the radio. "Maybe. But if we can take out their leadership, it might end this war before more people die." The surviving human ships formed a tight formation around the Constitution and charged straight into the heart of the Coalition fleet. Energy beams and explosions filled the space around them as they fought their way through thousands of enemy ships. Captain Jerry Thompson, commanding the destroyer Phoenix, found himself separated from the main group when his ship was damaged by enemy fire. His weapons officer, Kate Brown, was working frantically to keep their guns operational. "Captain, we're surrounded," reported communications specialist Rob Clark. Jerry looked at his tactical display. Enemy ships on all sides, and the Phoenix was alone. But instead of surrendering, he smiled. "Well, if we're going down, let's take as many of them with us as possible. Kate, Load everything we have. Rob, broadcast this on all frequencies. This is Captain Jerry Thompson of the Earthship Phoenix. We came in peace, but you brought us war. Remember this day, and remember that humans don't give up. The Phoenix fought alone against an entire coalition squadron. Jerry's crew performed their duties with calm professionalism. The war ended not with a great explosion, but with a simple act of kindness. General Charles Baker stood among the wreckage of what had once been the coalition's main command ship. His forces had finally broken through their defenses after 3 days of brutal fighting. Around him, alien soldiers lay wounded and dying, their advanced armor cracked and smoking. Baker's first order surprised everyone, including his own troops. "Medic," he called out. "Get medical teams over here. These aliens need help." Sergeant Mike Davis looked confused. "Sir, they're the enemy." "They're wounded soldiers, Sergeant. We don't leave wounded soldiers to die." Dr. Emma Johnson arrived with her medical team just minutes later. She had been treating human casualties for days, but when she saw the injured aliens, she didn't hesitate. "Set up triage stations," she ordered her team. "Treat the worst injuries first, regardless of species." The coalition soldiers couldn't understand what was happening. They had been told that humans were bloodthirsty monsters who would torture and kill any prisoners. Instead, human doctors were working desperately to save their lives. One of the wounded aliens, a young Valerian named Peltos, grabbed Dr. Johnson's arm as she worked on his injuries. "Why?" he whispered through his translator. "Why are you helping us?" Dr. Johnson looked down at him with kind eyes. "Because you're hurt and I'm a doctor. That's what doctors do." Peltos had never heard of such a thing. In his culture, enemies were enemies. You didn't help them unless you had something to gain. But this human doctor was risking her own safety to save his life, and she wanted nothing in return. Word of what was happening spread quickly through both fleets. Coalition commanders who had expected the humans to act like savage conquerors were confused by reports of human medical teams treating alien wounded. Some thought it was a trick, but the evidence was too clear to deny. Meanwhile, Admiral Patricia Stone was having the strangest conversation of her military career. She was speaking with Admiral Vexithran, the coalition fleet commander, whose ship had been disabled during the final battle. "I don't understand your people," Vexithran said. His translator made his voice sound tired and confused. "You fight like demons, but then you save our wounded. You destroy our ships, but then you offer us food and medical care." Patricia sat across from him in the Constitution's conference room. The alien looked nothing like the monsters she had imagined during the war. He seemed more like a tired old soldier who had made a terrible mistake. "We fight when we have to," Patricia explained, "but we don't enjoy it. We'd rather be exploring new worlds and making friends." "Friends?" Vexthran's antennae twitched. "After everything that has happened, you still speak of friendship?" "The war is over," Patricia said simply. "Now we have to figure out how to live together." On Earth, the cleanup was already beginning. Ambassador Tony Martinez had returned from his diplomatic mission and was working with coalition representatives to establish a ceasefire. His security chief, Colonel Rachel Moore, was helping coordinate the return of prisoners from both sides. "How many coalition soldiers did we capture?" Tony asked. "About 3,000, Rachel replied. "Most of them are asking to speak with human doctors. Apparently they can't believe we're treating their injuries." Tony shook his head. "They really did think we were monsters." The real breakthrough came when Dr. Emma Johnson was asked to speak at a joint conference between human and coalition representatives. She had spent weeks treating wounded soldiers from dozens of different species, and she had learned something important. "The problem isn't that we're different," she told the assembled diplomats. "The problem is that we didn't understand how different we are." She activated a display screen that showed images from both human and alien worlds. "Look at this." Most coalition species evolved on planets where the biggest danger was running out of food. They never had to deal with predators, extreme weather, or natural disasters. The alien diplomats nodded. This was basic knowledge to them. But humans evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Dr. Johnson continued. "Our weather changes constantly. We have to compete with other predators for food. We've been dealing with danger every day for millions of years. She showed images of Earth, volcanoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, and the wildlife that humans shared their planet with. To us, these things are normal. We don't think about them as dangerous because we've always lived with them. But to species that evolved on peaceful worlds, our normal life looks impossibly dangerous. Ambassador Veltar, representing the coalition, spoke up. Are you saying that humans are not intentionally threatening? That's exactly what I'm saying, Dr. Johnson replied. When we talk about surviving a hurricane, we're not boasting about our strength. We're just describing Tuesday. This revelation changed everything. Captain Alex Turner, whose battle in the asteroid field had helped start the war, was brought in to explain what had really happened during that fight. I didn't want to fight the Zephyrians, Alex told the conference. I tried to talk to them first. When they attacked us, I just did what any human would do. I tried to get my crew to safety. But you flew through an asteroid field, protested the Zephyrian representative. No species in the galaxy can do such things. Beth Williams, Alex's navigator, laughed. That wasn't even a difficult asteroid field. There was plenty of room between the rocks. I've flown through worse storms on Earth. The aliens looked at each other in amazement. What they considered an impossible feat of skill, the humans saw as routine flying. Dr. Marcus Webb, who had been studying the problem from the beginning, presented his research to the conference. The key to understanding humans is to remember that they come from a world that taught them to solve problems that most species would consider unsolvable. He showed a video of the human colonists on New Dakota defending their farms from the native predators. To most species, those creatures are unstoppable killing machines. To humans, they're just another problem to solve. The breakthrough in understanding led to the Framework Accords, a new treaty that would govern relations between humans and the rest of the galaxy. Ambassador Martinez worked closely with reformed coalition diplomat Veltar to write the agreement. The key is communication, Martinez explained to the negotiating committee. Humans need to understand that what seems normal to us might seem terrifying to others, and other species need to understand that our abilities come from necessity, not aggression. The Accords established several important principles. First, humans would warn other species before doing anything that might seem dangerous. Second, other species would ask questions instead of assuming the worst about human actions. Third, both sides would work together to explore dangerous worlds that only humans could safely visit. The real test of the new relationship came 6 months later. Captain Alex Turner was given command of a new ship, the New Horizon, with a mixed crew of humans and aliens. Their mission was to survey worlds that were too dangerous for other species to explore safely. Tyler Moore, the ship's human engineer, worked alongside Kelnaris, a Valerian scientist who had volunteered to join the crew despite his people's fear of humans. Are you sure you want to do this? Tyler asked as they approached their first survey target, a world with active volcanoes and poisonous atmosphere. Kelnaris checked his environmental suit for the 10th time. I am terrified, he admitted, but I want to understand how humans see the universe. Maybe if I can learn to be brave like you, my people will be less afraid. Tyler smiled. We're not brave. We're just used to dealing with dangerous things. Stick close to me, and I'll show you how it's done. The survey mission was a complete success. Kelnaris not only survived the dangerous world, but helped discover valuable mineral deposits that other species could mine safely once the humans had established the necessary infrastructure. 5 years after the war ended, the galaxy had changed, completely. The Terran Exploration Corps, led by Director Nancy Clark and her Deputy Commander Gary White, had become the most respected organization in known space. When other species found worlds that were too dangerous to explore, they called the humans. On the Joint Research Station Harmony Point, human children played with young aliens under the watchful eyes of teachers like Miss Julie Adams and Mr. Peter King. The children didn't see differences between species. To them, having friends with tentacles or extra eyes was perfectly normal. Dr. Emma Johnson, now the head of interspecies medicine, watched the children play and smiled. You know what the real lesson is? she said to her colleague, Dr. Greg Phillips. What's that? Fear comes from not understanding. Once we understood each other, the fear went away. The final test of the new relationship came when a message arrived from the edge of the galaxy. An automated probe had detected something massive moving in the darkness between stars. Something that even the Coalition's combined fleets couldn't handle. The response was immediate and unanimous. Every species in the galaxy, from the smallest trading federation to the mightiest military empire, sent the same message to Earth. And humanity, the species that had once been feared as monsters, prepared once again to go where others could not. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. Not as destroyers, but as the ones willing to face the darkness so that the light of civilization could continue to shine.